3 years ago, I sat across from a guy named Dennis at a diner in Ohio. He was 67, retired at 62, ordered black coffee, and didn't touch it. I asked him how retirement was going. He looked at me for a second and said, "I made every decision the right way and still got half of them wrong." Dennis wasn't broke. He wasn't sick. His marriage was fine. He had done everything the financial internet told him to do, claimed at 62, moved his savings into conservative funds, paid off the house before he retired. And he still had 5 things he wished someone had told him before he walked out of that office for the last time. That conversation is this video. Because the people who tell you how to retire are almost never people who have actually done it. They're running projections. Dennis was running his life. Quick thing before we get into it. This is not a video about whether 62 is the right age to retire. That debate has about 10,000 videos already. This is specifically for people who are already planning to retire at 62, or who already did, and want to know what the people who went first wish they'd known. There's a difference between making the decision and making the decision well. 5 things. Some of them are financial, some of them aren't. All of them came from real people, from conversations, from comments on this channel, from the emails I get at 2 in the morning from people who are 3 weeks into retirement and quietly panicking. Drop in the comments right now. Are you planning to retire at 62, or have you already? I want to know where you are. I read every single one. Let's go. The first thing I'd do differently is solve the healthcare problem before I retired. Not the week before, not the month before, at least a year before. Because here's what nobody tells you clearly enough. Medicare starts at 65, Social Security starts at 62. There are 3 years in between where you are entirely on your own for health insurance. And in those 3 years, if something goes wrong, and statistically something does, you are exposed in a way that can genuinely derail everything else. The most common comment I get on retirement videos isn't about Social Security math. It isn't about portfolio withdrawal rates. It's some version of, only thing keeping me from retiring at 62 is health insurance. That's not a small problem. That's the wall between people and the retirement they've earned. So what actually works? If your spouse is still working and has employer coverage, you stay on their plan. Simple, often overlooked. If that's not available, the ACA marketplace is real, and it works better than most people think, especially at 62 when your income may be lower than it's been in decades. Lower income means higher subsidies. Some people in this bracket pay under $200 a month for solid coverage. Not everyone, but more than you'd expect. COBRA exists. It lets you stay on your former employer's plan for up to 18 months. It's expensive, usually $600 to $800 a month for a single person. But it buys you time, and it's predictable, which matters when everything else is changing. The mistake Dennis made, and I've seen this exact mistake from dozens of people, was retiring in October without having the insurance question locked down, assuming he'd figure it out. He figured it out. It cost him $14,000 in the first year that he hadn't budgeted for. Solve this before you retire, not after. The second thing I'd do differently is take the identity question seriously before day one. I know how that sounds. Stay with me. There's a comment someone left on one of my videos that I think about a lot. They wrote, "I retired at 62. Haven't looked back. I worked to live. I didn't live to work." That person knew who they were outside of work before they retired. They had things, a life that existed independently of their job. A lot of people don't. In the financial industry, which loves to talk about withdrawal, rates and portfolio allocation, almost never talks about what happens to a person when the structure of work disappears overnight. I'm not talking about boredom. Boredom is manageable. I'm talking about the specific disorientation that comes from 40 years of your identity being tied to what you do. And then one day it isn't. The alarm doesn't go off. Nobody needs you to be anywhere. Your expertise, your title, your sense of purpose. It doesn't transfer automatically into retirement. You have to build something to replace it. The people who do this best, and I've watched enough of them now to see the pattern, are the ones who have a plan for their time before they have a plan for their money. Not a vague plan, a real one. What are you doing on Tuesday at 10 a.m.? What are you doing in November? What gets you out of bed when nothing requires you to get out of bed? Dennis told me he spent the first 4 months of retirement watching television and feeling vaguely guilty about it, not because he was lazy, because he'd never had to construct a reason for his own day before. Work had always done that for him. Before you retire, figure out who you are when nobody's paying you to be anyone. Third thing, And I want to say this carefully because it's the one that surprised me the most when I started paying attention. If you're married, the retirement decision is not yours alone. Even if your name is the only one on the Social Security statement, here's what I mean. Your filing age directly affects your spouse's spousal benefit, the income they can collect based on your record. It affects their survivor benefit, the check they'll live on after you're gone. One commenter wrote about her husband. He worked until 67, passed away 2 months before his birthday, never collected a single dollar of Social Security. She took hers at 62. Right away, no hesitation, she was right. But flip it. If you are the higher earner and you file early, you are locking in a permanently reduced survivor benefit for your spouse. The reduced check doesn't just follow you, it follows them, potentially for 20 years after you're gone. I've seen the comment about the husband who filed early because he was worried about Social Security's long-term funding. He didn't think of it as a decision he was making for his wife, but it was. She inherited the reduced benefit. That's what she lived on. The conversation Dennis wished he'd had with his wife, not with a calculator, was about what each of their retirements actually looked like. Not the money, the life, what she wanted, what he was assuming without saying it out loud, what they each thought retirement meant. He assumed she'd be thrilled he was home. She'd been running the house solo for 35 years and had her own rhythm. His presence changed everything. They figured it out. But it took about a year of friction that a conversation could have handled in an afternoon. Before you retire, have the conversation, the real one. Fourth, this is the financial one, and it's the one most people genuinely don't know exists. Between the day you stop working and age 73, there's a window. You're no longer earning a salary. You haven't hit the age where the IRS forces you to start pulling money out of your traditional IRA. That's 73 now under the latest law. And if you haven't filed for Social Security yet, your taxable income is lower than it may ever be again for the rest of your life. That window is worth something. Real money, and most people either don't know it exists or they accidentally close it on day one of retirement. Here's what you can do inside it. A Roth conversion. You move money from a traditional IRA, where every dollar you pull out in retirement gets taxed as ordinary income, into a Roth IRA, where it grows tax-free and you never pay taxes on it again. During the window, if your income is low enough, you can do that conversion at the 10 or 12% tax bracket, pay a modest tax now on your own schedule, and eliminate a much larger tax obligation later when the IRS is setting the schedule. If you have $400,000 in a traditional IRA and you convert $40,000 a year for 10 years while you're in the 12% bracket, you're paying roughly $4,800 a year in federal tax on those conversions. In exchange, that money and everything it grows into never gets taxed again, and you shrink the balance that will eventually force you into larger required minimum distributions in your 70s, which means less income being pushed into higher brackets at exactly the moment you can least manage it. Dennis didn't do this, not because he was careless, because nobody showed him the window before he walked through it. By the time someone explained Roth conversions to him, he'd been collecting Social Security for 2 years, and his conversion headroom had significantly shrunk. The window doesn't announce itself. You have to know to look for it. If you're to be retiring at 62, sit down with someone before you file, and specifically ask about the Roth conversion runway between now and 73. That question alone could be worth more than any other financial decision you make in the first year. Fifth, this is the one Dennis brought up last, at the end of the coffee, when he'd been quiet for a minute. He said, "I wish someone had just told me it was okay." I asked him what he meant. He said the whole time he was planning to retire, the last 2 years of working, he felt like he was doing something slightly wrong, like he was cutting in line, like people who retired at 62 were people who couldn't hack it, or hadn't saved enough, or were giving up on something they should have kept going for. He said he never told anyone at work his actual plan. He said he was early retired instead of retired, as if the word early was an apology. I have read thousands of comments on retirement videos, and the thing that strikes me every single time is how many people are asking for permission they don't realize they're asking for. I retired at 62 and haven't looked back. No regrets. Best decision I ever made? These aren't bragging. They're people telling other people it's okay, because it is. You paid into Social Security for 40 years. You built what you built. You wore out the parts of yourself that work wears out. The system exists because someone decided your labor had value, and that value deserved a return. Taking it at 62, if that's the right decision for your life, is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not a mistake. One commenter wrote something I've never forgotten. They said, 15 of my friends and family never reached 60 years old, so I will take my Social Security at 62. That's not impulsive. That's someone who has done the math that the calculator won't do for you. The math that includes the people who didn't make it to the starting line. Dennis finished his coffee. Cold by then, he said, I'd have enjoyed the first year more if I hadn't spent it feeling guilty about it. Don't spend it feeling guilty about it. 5 things. Let me give them to you clean. 1. Solve the healthcare gap before you retire, not after. The 3 years between 62 and Medicare will either be handled or they'll be expensive. You choose which one in advance. 2. Figure out who you are when nobody's paying you to be anyone. The identity question isn't soft. It's the difference between a good first year and a lost one. 3. If you're married, have the real conversation. Your filing decision is a household decision. 2 lifetimes, not 1. 4. Find the window between retirement and 73. Use it for Roth conversions before the IRS closes it for you. 5. Give yourself permission. You earned it. The guilt is optional. Dennis left a 20 on the table for a $9 coffee. I asked him if he'd do it again. Retire at 62. He didn't even pause. He said, I'd do it at 61 if I could go back. Then he went to meet his wife. They had somewhere to be. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing on this list you wish someone had told you earlier? Or if you're not retired yet, which one scares you the most? I read every single one.